And welcome back to the channel, everybody, and welcome back to a new video where today I'm going to start the argument. Well, probably not start the argument. I think that argument has already been started, but I want to explore the argument about these new Dodge EV Daytona things being muscle cars or not. I am of the belief that they are not, but I thought I would dig into this a little bit and maybe spark the argument, push the argument forward, and see what you all think. And maybe I'm just being old-fashioned and being nostalgic and not being open to progressing with the new line of thinking. Maybe it's all me, but I believe that this, folks, represents the history, the nostalgia of a muscle car. This brings back the 60s and 70s muscle car. This brings back the feeling. It invokes that emotion that we all love about these cars. While this car does not fall directly under the years where muscle cars were actually branded with that terminology, this car was an homage to that and has absolutely carried on that belief, all that pride, all that history, and Dodge did it, I believe, better than any other automaker out there. Until recently, when they decided to ridiculously overprice these cars, price the common man out of these cars, and then come out with ridiculous EV stuff and make us think that those are muscle cars, or at least try to convince us that those are muscle cars. I gotta say, I'll hand it to Ford. They never once got up and said the Mach-E is a muscle car, everybody come buy this new muscle car. They never said that. So for us, we're getting sold a bill of goods, at least in my opinion, that this is a muscle car. This looks like a muscle car. It has all the throwbacks to a muscle car. This is a retro-inspired beast of a car. Not the fastest car. There's so many cars that'll beat them. All the comments about, those Scat Pack is slow, my Mustang beats this, that's cool. That's the arguments that should be had. That is the spirit of these cars. Well, your car weighs too much, and my car is lighter, and my car is faster, and I did this rear end, and I did this modification, and I could smoke you. I'll see you at the track this weekend, and we're going to throw down and do it and call each other names and then hug afterwards. I mean, that was muscle car history. This car has brought that back. Even the four-door Charger, even though they did a four-door, and I'm not a big fan of Charger being in a four-door, but that car turned out to be so damn awesome, so spectacular, that they were able to sell us a four-door Charger and actually make us love it, and it sold better than the Challenger in so many ways. But I still think this is the most beautiful version of these Mopars. But let's jump in the car and talk about some of the history behind this stuff and what I believe makes this a muscle car and completely annihilates any argument about these EVs having any chance of ever being able to, without laughing, be called muscle. Let's jump in. All right, so let's get started and talk about the term muscle car and why I believe the new EV Daytona is not a muscle car. And I'm frankly offended that Dodge tried and continues to try to sell us into believing that this EV thing is, oh, it's hot. Come on, give me some fucking air. All right. Anyways, I am offended that Dodge thinks that we would buy into this EV muscle thing. And like I said in my last video, I absolutely believe they should have never tried to sell us these things as muscle. They should have started off SXT, GT, economic, great on gas, actually not even on gas, electric cars. Heck, they could have done a hybrid. They could have done a really small hybrid motor and whatever. They could have done anything other than try to launch a EV muscle car. Someone at Stellantis had this idea, and someone thought they were going to be a genius. But what I really think happened is someone thought we were all so stupid that we were going to eat it up and go, okay, because you say it's a muscle car, it's a muscle car. So now in my comment section on my last video, I have a couple people defending the Daytona EV, saying that they believe it is a muscle car. And because it's fast and because the Scat Pack 670 horsepower, that it's a muscle car. Why wouldn't it be a muscle car? And why wouldn't they call it an RT and a Scat Pack when it's got so much more horsepower than this car, than the gas versions of that car these previous years? Well, I don't believe that just calling something a muscle car, calling something an exotic, calling something a hypercar just makes it so. And in this situation, I believe EVs should be just a completely different moniker. They should be something else. Call them high performance EVs, HPEV, or call them something that starts that new line of or designation for those cars. Because at that point, people can say, well, I want to get a high performance EV, or I want to get a high performance gas car. Well, high performance gas car can fall under, exotic, supercars, hypercars, or muscle cars. So let's not just tag a very, very long-standing 50, 60-year-old moniker onto an EV. When I think of comparing an EV to a gas engine, it makes me think of the absurdity of me inviting, let's say, you all over to my house on Memorial Day weekend to come have some burgers. Now, I can invite you over two different ways. I can say, hey, look, you want to come over this weekend? We're going to barbecue some burgers, some hot dogs. It's going to be amazing. Man, I've got this great barbecue recipe. You're going to love these things, man. It's going to be awesome. So show up, bring a side dish, and we're going to eat, and we're going to have fun. Or I could say, hey, man, you want to come over to my house this weekend? We're going to microwave a bunch of burgers and hot dogs, and it's going to be a blast. Which one would you want to come to? Well, I know that if you take 5 different men and put them in front of 5 different barbecues and give them the same meat, the same sides, and let them choose whatever seasoning, whatever preparation, whatever cooking style on that barbecue, whether they want to use charcoal or wood or propane or gas or whatever they want to use, but let them go into that backyard and barbecue, that every one of those burgers is going to taste different, and they're going to be different because of that man's experience, time, energy, and his personal touch that he puts into those burgers. But in the microwave, you can have those 5 different guys use the different seasonings and different preparations, but if they're cooked in a microwave, they are not going to be as good as the ones cooked on the barbecue. For that reason, never would anyone ever want to come to, instead of come over for the barbecue this weekend, come over, I'm going to fire up the microwave and knock some Hot Pockets out and blow your mind. No one's coming to that party. That's EVs. Well, they're faster. They're fast as hell. They've got a lot of great tech and cool things about them. They can do things more efficiently, except refuel. But I wouldn't put the EV up against a gas car and flex like it's so much faster, because so is a freaking microwave. It's the dumbest analogy in the world. So I certainly wouldn't think that I can invite somebody over for Memorial Day weekend. We're going to do some swimming, we're going to do some cooking, we're going to have some good time, and then expect that when they walk into my house, that they see me standing in front of the microwave, throwing burger meat into that microwave oven, and then serving them this nasty ass food. I can't see anybody thinking that that would be okay. Well, in this situation, and I'm sorry for the analogy, but I could probably come up with 50 different analogies for this exact scenario, that there's no possible way that we should be going down a road where anything with an electric motor or multiple electric motors should be put in the same class as something with a gas engine. It doesn't make any sense. Now, that's why we hear, well, the Plaid beat the Demon, and then another video, the Demon beat the Plaid. That's awesome, and it's fun to do. It's like the same thing that we've always done. Let's take a super fast muscle car, supercharged with blower on it or something, and put it up against a JDM car, or put it up against a Lamborghini. And that's always fun to do. I mean, why not? But if you're being serious, that's not what you would do. You would get muscle car against muscle car. You could take two exact same scat packs, no modifications, right off the showroom floor. Put two dudes in those cars. One in one, one in the other. One person's gonna win. One of them's gonna win because there's skill involved. There's different energy between each of those gentlemen that are racing those cars. There's the different style on how they're going to do their takeoff and their prep and everything else. And when they're going down that track, there's also the spirit, the guts to put your foot into it as much as you can. And then there's also that fear factor. Is the guy going to step on it when he takes off, or is he afraid to spin? Is the other guy going to go for it and just risk it all? These are very different emotions, different approaches, and you can't get that in an EV. With the Tesla Plaid, as you've seen on the tracks on all those YouTube videos, is you could take my daughter at 17, stick her on a racetrack, a drag strip, and put her up against a Demon 170. She's going to run likely almost the same time every single time. All she has to do is hold on to that wheel and follow the instructions on the screen and smash the pedal, and she'll be boogieing down that track and hitting within tenths of seconds every single time, while the Demon guy over there is working his ass off. He is setting the torque, he's setting the launch control, he's trying to figure out, you know, the temperature of the tires. Am I going to be able to take off with this prep on this track, and what's the, you know, temperature outside? And he's doing all this stuff, rubbing his belly, patting his head, trying to figure out, okay, how can I get the best run out of this Demon 170 or whatever, 70s Dodge Dart, Plymouth Duster, whatever the hell it is, GTO, whatever it is. That guy is in that car, and he is, think of the emotion. He is all in, he's sweating, got his helmet on, looking over at the other driver and thinking, man, I hope he's a little nervous today. I hope he's a little scared or worried. Hope he's not confident. Hope he's not comfortable in that car. The problem is, if it's a Tesla Plaid, it doesn't matter, because my 17-year-old daughter's sitting over there, and she's, honest to God, listening to some Taylor Swift and dancing around, smashes the pedal, and catches that Demon 170, or whatever the hell that muscle car is, down the track. Is that the world we want to live in, where everything goes out the window, where it's just a matter of they build a car, a microwave, and everything gets cooked in 2 or 3 minutes, and then we eat, and that's sustenance. It gets us where we need to go. It keeps us nourished, so we're okay. I don't think it is. I think sometimes it's nice to go in the backyard and watch my friend Enrique. Woo! This boy, I love him. We call him my brother from another mother. Love this guy. If I could have a brother, he would be it.
6.5 hours later.
Whatever you guys see that OC Motivator did to me, one day, it'll be payback to him.
He is 100% Mexican, and this dude can go in the backyard, and if I leave him alone, throw him a little snifter, a little shot of tequila that he'll sip, give him some Coronas or whatever the hell he wants, and leave him alone. And he will have the ingredients. He'll come walk into my house with all the ingredients to make carne asada amazing. He's got limes going and all this stuff. I can tell you there's nothing I could do to ever make a carne asada like this man makes. It will literally blow your mind. And he's out there and he's going to town and he's cooking and he's slinging and he's drinking and he's talking and he's doing this stuff. And then by the time it's all done, he comes in, this huge tray carne asada, and he's got vegetables, he's chopped up chilies, he's handmade salsa. I know you're getting hungry right now. And then his wife brings these tortillas, amazingly homemade tortillas, and they serve this to us. They're like family, and they go, we wanted to do this for this day for all of us to celebrate whatever weekend it is. And we eat it, and I got to tell you, I can't duplicate it. I cannot duplicate what Enrique does. Sorry for that story, and sorry to make you all hungry. But these muscle cars have a connection with the human being that loves and owns that car, that becomes comfortable and confident with that car, that becomes experienced with that car, that learns that car, that knows the quirks and features and issues, like Doug DeMuro would say, about that car, and knows how it's going to react under certain conditions with certain temperatures and certain dampness in the air. And that gentleman is going to drive the hell out of that car using every one of those senses, every bit of that knowledge, and deliver an outcome. And every time he does it, 10 times, 50 times, 100 times, he gets a little bit better, goes back to the shop, takes out the wrenches, and works on it to make it a little bit faster, tenths of seconds. When we go to the electric cars, here's the problem. You're going to get a car, you're going to get an app, and that app is going to allow you what it sounds like is going to be coming, where if you want to have a faster car, you have to buy the direct connection update over the air to make it faster. And apparently you're going to be able to do it for the weekend at the track. It's going to be all-wheel drive, and it's going to do all the work for you. And it's going to boogie down that track, and likely the Banshee will beat everything out there. Probably still be fighting with the Plaid. And when Elon Musk launches the Tesla Roadster, that he's saying is going to do 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds, there won't be anything out there with an engine, with the gas engine, that's going to beat it. So game over. This guy in my comment section said, so what, are all muscle cars just going away now? If everything goes EV, which he's stupid enough to believe that it's going to, despite everything falling apart right now. But if everything goes EV, then there's not going to be any more muscle cars, so then what are we going to call muscle cars? And I had to remind him that there is not some gigantic alien spaceship that's going to come over the United States and suck up and evaporate every single muscle car that's been built for the last, 60 years. They're still here. They're not going anywhere. The electric thing isn't going to change that. My car's still going to be in my garage. And I saw these guys in their 20s, really cool 1920s, like race cars, and they had them at Cars and Coffee a few weeks ago. And these guys are in a club, and they've got hundreds of other guys with these cars that were built in the 20s, and they've restored them, put their life into these cars, and made them amazing, and made them incredibly fast for the era. Certainly would get killed by any modern car, but for the era, these guys like to race these things against each other and have a lot of fun. It was such a cool thing to just talk to these guys, because these guys put their heart and soul into these cars, and while these cars might do 0 to 60 in 8 seconds, they were the fastest damn things back in the 20s, and they love that heritage. Those cars aren't going anywhere. So all these muscle cars will still own that moniker, meaning this electric thing coming here isn't able to replace it. It would take, let's say, 50 to 60 years to be able to do so, and would need to get some serious traction with the muscle car community, people like myself, for us to even buy into that, which I can tell you, it is not going to happen. All right, so let me read the definition of muscle car per the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. And you decide whether you think that these EVs deserve to be called muscle cars. And I don't have a problem, I'm going to make this clear, with EVs being around. I think they will serve a purpose. I think they'll be around forever as well. They're not going anywhere. They're just not going to be as prolific as they're trying to make us think they are. They will serve a purpose for a segment of society that works in a city, never leaves that city, doesn't go on any trips, doesn't care about an engine, doesn't care about the fun of the car. Maybe, you know, a little bit. They'll have these quicker, you know, dual engine or dual motor electric cars. But in the end, it's a segment. Just like this is a segment. And this whole overtaking thing by 2030 or 2035 or whatever the hell it is absurd and ridiculous, and it's never going to happen. But yes, they'll be around, but you're not going to steal the muscle car moniker. You can have a high-performance EV moniker. You can come up with a name if you want. You can call them lightning fast or, you know, super fast, whatever the hell you want to call them, because they are fast. But if you're going to race EVs, put an EV against an EV, okay? But here's what sucks. Those two guys working on them in the garage aren't going to work on them in the garage because, one, they're not allowed to work on them in the garage. They're not allowed to wrench on them. They'd get electrocuted if they did.
Where the f*** is it?
If they did, Tesla would brick the car, and these other manufacturers would never warranty anything that one of the seals were broken. Just like if you take your iPhone apart, all of a sudden your warranty is now invalid. So that's not something I think any of us are looking forward to. So let's go ahead and read the definition of muscle car. Muscle car is a description, according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, that came to use in 1966 for a group of American-made two-door sports coupes with powerful engines designed for high-performance driving. The Britannica Dictionary describes these as an American-made two-door sports car with a powerful engine. There's a picture of a 66 Pontiac GTO here. Although the term was unknown for another 15 plus years, General Motors introduced the 303 cubic inch 5-liter rocket V8 used in the Oldsmobile 98 models into the smaller and lighter 88 models, a formula that later evolved into the muscle car category. The competition between American manufacturers started when Chrysler installed the 331 cubic inch 5.4-liter Chrysler Hemi engine in the mid-range Chrysler Saratoga in 1951 that was normally installed in the full-size luxury sedan Chrysler New Yorker. In 1952, Ford's luxury brand Lincoln introduced the 317 cubic inch 5.2-liter Lincoln Y-Block V8, and the rivalry began, where the Lincoln Capri was entered into the Pan American Road Race in both 52 and 53, and taken the first and second place in 54. This was followed by both Oldsmobile 88 and Chrysler Saratoga being raced in stock form at NASCAR races. By some accounts, the muscle car term proper was originally applied to mid-1960s and early 1970s special editions of mass production cars which were designed for drag racing, though it shortly entered the general vocabulary through car magazines and automobile marketing and became used generically for performance-oriented street cars. By some period definitions and perceptions, the term muscle car came to connote high performance at lower prices. Dodge is never going to make these EVs affordable. That's one big problem with being called a muscle car. Where powerful engines were put into relatively basic trimmed, intermediate-sized cars and marketed at more affordable prices. This approach was exemplified by the 1968 Plymouth Roadrunner and companion Dodge Super Bee that were meant to undercut more expensive, more stylish, and better appointed models from General Motors and Ford that had come to define the market, such as the Pontiac GTO in 1964, 396 Chevy Chevelle 1965, 400 Buick Grand Sport 1965, 400 Oldsmobile 442 in 1965, as well as the 427 Mercury Comet Cyclone 1964 and the 390 Mercury Cyclone in 1966. By some definitions, including those used by Car Driver, CNBC, Road and Track, and Motor Trend cited below, pony cars such as the Ford Mustang, Chevy Camaro, and the Plymouth Barracuda and their luxury companions, the Mercury Cougar, Pontiac Firebird, and Dodge Challenger in that large, influential, and lucrative 1960s to 70s niche could also qualify as muscle cars, if outfitted with suitable high-performance equipment. So then I drop down to definition, and this is where I think it kind of helps our narrative, at least my narrative, that there is no way these EVs can be muscle cars. The definition of a muscle car is subjective. Of course it's subjective. But you might think something else, I might think something else. But I think what it comes down to is the difference between, you know, what it's like when you have that guy on the other side of the track with you, sitting in a plaid, you know, drinking a cup of coffee with the trunk full of Costco groceries, and you're sitting there, you know, working your ass off to get ready to take off down the track. That, I don't think he's a muscle car. So anyways, muscle cars often have many of the following characteristics: a large V8 engine in the most powerful configuration offered for a particular model. Next, rear wheel drive. Next, being manufactured in the United States in the 60s or early 70s. The specific year range of 1964 to 73 is sometimes used. A relatively lightweight two-door body. Though opinions vary as to whether high-performance full-size cars, compacts, and pony cars qualify as muscle cars, and why a two-seat AMX could be, but a two-seat Chevy Corvette was not. It's sometimes claimed that only mid-size cars can be considered muscle cars. Next, an affordable price in 1970 of around US $2,500, equivalent to $18,839 in 2022. Next, focused on delivering performance on the street that could also be used for drag racing. High-power pony cars are sometimes considered muscle cars. However, personal luxury cars are often too expensive to be considered by some to be muscle cars. Sports cars are not considered muscle cars by some definitions. By some narrow definitions, muscle cars are an extension of the hot rodding philosophy of taking a small car, putting a large displacement engine in it for the purpose of increasing straight line speed. However, that is repudiated by the much broader public acceptance and use of the term as exemplified by the Car and Driver, CNBC, Road and Track, and Motor Trend top muscle car lists below, which display as a much broader interpretation of the term. Then they go into the term supercars and how these things all started off being called supercars. And I think I just got to make the point that I made to this gentleman that commented on my channel, that unless my car brings us together in my garage, which even my new Dodges have, where we're working on things, whether it's just changing the oil, which you can do on your car, whether it's throwing on an oil catch can, whether it's doing a cold air intake, whatever the hell it is, unless the car brings you and your friends together to sit out in the garage and do man shit, as I tell people, as I say to my wife all the time, I'm going out to the garage to do man shit. And ladies, you can do lady shit with cars, and my daughter does. And her and I did her cold air intake ourselves, and it was awesome, and it's on her channel. But I'm just saying, for decades and decades, this is where guys went out to the garage. We had a refrigerator full of beers or an ice chest, and we messed with our cars. I did it in high school. I took auto shop in high school, and then we went home and we started throwing wrenches in our cars, and sometimes we screwed our cars up, but sometimes we actually made them better, made them faster, made them cooler. Well, my friend Ron was so happy that he got his near junked Plymouth Duster, but it still rolled and it still ran. And Ron and myself and the other guys were in his driveway while he was wrenching on that thing, helping him out, tearing into it to get that sucker to the point to where it was a freaking cool, raceable muscle car at the street races in town, which I get that's an issue, but we did back in the day. And we were so happy to see Ron get that thing up and running and get it out to the street races on Sunday nights. It was so much fun. But we worked on that car. We didn't take it to a shop. We did stuff on that car. Now, I get it. I've even evolved to a place to where I don't throw wrenches as much as I used to. And I certainly know how to do things. And I made sure I took time with my daughter to show her how to do stuff with her car and to get underneath that hood, and without voiding her warranty and building that thing up and making it cool, to show her that never be afraid of learning how these things work, in case you're ever in a position like I was in when I was young, of not having the money to go pay somebody to do it. So you figure out how to do it yourself. So I think muscle cars have a long lineage, a history, a culture of us working together, doing things together, and getting out there mano a mano and racing cars down a track or in the street races on Sunday nights or whatever it is. But I don't think in any way, shape, or form an EV is ever going to replace these cars and will ever legitimately be able to own the muscle car terminology. It will never be able to be called in any level of legitimacy a muscle car. Just like a Plaid can't, or a Hyundai Ioniq 5N, which is a screamer of a car, but to call it a muscle car is just stupid. These things are battery operated. You cannot work on them. You can't do anything with you. Download an app and then you're going to upgrade them. You're not going to have the guys over to have some beers and some burgers in the garage while you rebuild the engine and put a supercharger on it, or change your belts for the weekend to make sure you don't have anything go wrong, or repair it yourself, or change the oil, or put a cold air intake on. You're not going to do that. So I'm not going to let it just go away. And calling me old, I don't give a damn. But I think I'm real. I think I'm telling it like it is, and I gotta think a lot of you would agree with me. So sorry I went long on this video, but I really just don't want us to forget what these cars signify, what these cars mean. So with that, everybody, please like, subscribe, comment. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. I am curious, can these EV Dodge Daytonas really be muscle cars, or did Dodge miss it completely and they should have never tried to sell that BS down our throats? That's just my opinion. So I'll see you in the next one, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.